I love cookies, and there are some cookies that are frankly just a lot harder to make than others. The cookie I'm going to show you today is without a doubt probably one of the easiest cookies you'll ever make. It all comes together in one bowl, it's really just a handful of ingredients, and there's no creaming of butter and sugar or any of that. You kind of just dump everything in and mix it. With that said, this recipe was developed in part because several people in my family have gluten allergies. And sometimes you just want a dessert that's easy to kind of throw together and serve to a bunch of people, while also accommodating different dietary restrictions. These are peanut butter coconut cookies. And the base of the cookie is made really of just two ingredients, creamy peanut butter and brown sugar. But I also mix in some shredded unsweetened coconut and a couple of flavorings to really enhance this rich, nutty sweets flavor. So here we go. In a bowl, you want to combine 1 cup of creamy peanut butter. This would not be the time to use crunchy, although honestly, you could if you wanted to get a couple extra bites of whole peanuts, but I like the texture that is given by the creamy peanut butter. Then you add 1 cup of light brown sugar, 1 whole egg, 2/3 a cup of shredded unsweetened coconut. These cookies are very sweet because the structure is depending on that full 1 cup of light brown sugar. So this is not the time to use sweetened shredded coconut. Stick to the unsweetened, I promise. It kind of has a really wonderful, savory, nutty edge to it that enhances the sweetness of the cookie and complements it. All right, and then the last 2 ingredients are our flavorings. So 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Vanilla and peanut butter do something magical together. Any peanut butter cookie recipe that's worth its name, I promise, has probably a hefty amount of vanilla to really bring out this kind of nostalgic peanut butter flavor of the peanut butter cookies of our childhoods. And then the last ingredient is one that kind of gets a bad rap. It's coconut extract. People complain that it smells like sunscreen, and that's because sunscreen is often made to smell like coconut. However, when used in the proper amount, it's really delicious. So only 1/4 teaspoon is all you need, but it further intensifies the coconut flavor in the cookie. Okay, and then just use a spatula to mix all of these ingredients together. When you're done mixing the dough, you'll notice it's really sticky, it's kind of wet because that sugar has melted into the peanut butter and the egg, and it's ready to shape into the cookies. So I have a parchment paper lined baking sheet right here, and I'm gonna scoop the dough out in about 1.5 tablespoon portions of dough and roll them into balls and separate them on the cookie sheet by about 1.5 to 2 inches. Now that you've rolled your cookies out, you're gonna take a fork and use the teens of the fork to make a crosshatch pattern as you press down on the cookie. If you find that the fork is sticking to the cookie dough as you're pressing down, just wet it with a little bit of water and that will prevent it from sticking. All right, and then lastly, you wanna take some raw sugar and just generously sprinkle the surface. The purpose of the raw sugar, rather than lending a lot of sweetness, is really just to lend a lot of texture. It makes the surface really crunchy, which is nice compared to the crumbly and chewy texture of the cookie and the coconut inside the cookie. All right, my cookies have been pressed and they are ready to go into the oven. I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees and they're only gonna bake for about 10 minutes. What you're looking for is a little bit of browning around the edges of the cookie. They're not gonna spread that much either. They'll kind of maintain this shape. It's imperative that you let them cool completely before you bite into them because the sugar inside the cookie needs to cool and recrystallize or else the cookie will just fall apart on you. So be patient and I promise it'll be worth it. My cookies are out of the oven and they have cooled. If you look at the cookie, you'll notice that the bottom is really nicely browned, but the surface is still kind of tender to the touch. It has a little browning around the edges and the sugar crystals on the top have maintained their structure. The cookie's cooled completely. It's perfectly crumbly and kind of firm to the touch, but as I break into it, you'll notice that it kind of just like crumbles and falls apart. So now I'm gonna give it a shot. In terms of texture, this cookie is like a home run. It is chewy from the coconut and from the bottom of the cookie that bakes and browns, but then it's also soft and crunchy from the raw sugar on the top. The coconut flavor is present, it's not overwhelming, and what you get is really just a delightful peanut butter cookie flavor with a little added nuttiness that makes it kind of irresistible. If you make these at home, I can almost promise you, you'll make them again. If you've enjoyed the video you've seen today, subscribe to the Southern Living YouTube channel, where you're sure to find other videos like this one that you're bound to enjoy. See you next time.